Hey, Core Golf. So, very quick recap on what we discussed this weekend. Very, very, very important topic because it's effective practice. And I think it's very important that you guys understand if you want to be the best golfers or the best people that you can possibly be, it's the actions that you take when no one's looking that are going to get you there. So it's all well and good coming to a session, spending time with myself, Coach Luke, Coach Chris, Coach Andrew, Coach Brandon, and following these principles of effective practice when we're there. I'm sure most of you will do that because you're very respectful, you're very polite, you're very hardworking. But if you want to be a champion, it's important that you apply these practice principles and practice philosophies when there's no coach there. Champions are made when no one is looking. Good habits are created by consistent action. So it's very important that you understand these principles, not only apply them at core, but apply them when you're practicing yourself. So we talked about the Vietnamese War, which was a strange subject to kick off with, but we spoke about how fighter pilots were getting shot down at a ratio of 1-to-1 with the enemy during the Vietnamese War. So for every US fighter plane that got shot down, one Vietnamese fighter plane got shot down. And this statistic was concerning to the US military. So what they did was they launched the Top Gun school. And I showed you a clip from the Top Gun movie, which we will now fire up.
Gentlemen, this is your first hop. The jets you are flying against are smaller, faster, and more maneuverable, just like the enemy MiGs. The clock is ticking, and as of now, we are keeping score.
I still got him. He's still back there. Come on, man. There's some of that pilot shit. Yeah, I got him. I've had about enough of this shit. Hit the brakes, I'll fly right by. You're mine. See what you got now, Chester. Okay, man, let's turn and burn. Chester's dead.
So when we discussed that section of the movie, we talked about how the enemy planes are faster and more maneuverable than the US planes in practice. We talked about how they're flying at full speed. We talked about how they're timed and how they're scored. And ultimately, we talked about how the situations that they face in practice recreate and simulate the situations that they're going to face in battle. So we saw Maverick. I'll hit the brakes. He'll fly right by in practice. And then what we did was we looked at how the practice represented the real thing and did the skills that the pilots were learning from the Top Gun school, did they transfer into battle?
Move, there's a MiG undertail. Got a problem here. We've only got one missile left. Approaching 110 miles, sir. God damn it. I got him. He's right on us. Turn our tails. We haven't lost him. He's still with us. You're slowing down. I'm bringing him in closer, Merlin. You're gonna do what? Big Maverick. I'm gonna hit the brakes. He'll fly right by. Shit, he's gonna get a walk on us.
So we saw that situation presented itself in training. I'll hit the brakes, he'll fly right by. Then we saw that situation presented itself in battle. I'll hit the brakes, he'll fly right by. So what we learned from this is that the Top Gun pilots were able to take the skills they were learning in practice and transfer them into battle. The practice that they engaged in, that recreated and simulated situations they were going to face in battle, taught quick critical thinking, and it helped the pilots piece together the ability to pull off the moves that they'd been training. So this is called skill transfer. So we looked into this then with regard to golf. Now, one interesting thing was that once the Top Gun school had been put into full play and the pilots had had some intense training, the ratio of 1-to-1 planes being shot down shifted into the favor of the US, a ratio of 1-to-12. So for every one US plane that was lost, they shot down 12 of the enemy. And that was a direct result of how they revolutionized the way pilots were trained through the Top Gun school. So when we think about golf, we look at this image on the left, all very nice and tidy, kind of similar to how KOHR is. And then we look at this image on the right, and it doesn't recreate and simulate the environment that we're going to face on the golf course. It doesn't recreate and simulate the situations that we're going to face on the golf course. Often in this picture on the left, people will tip out all these balls and they'll hit the same club over and over again. Whereas on here, you've got to hit a different club every time. The lie, the conditions of the shot vary greatly. The club you're going to use varies greatly. And you have targets and score. So you have more psychological pressure as well as more complexities in the environment. So sometimes training on the range lacks context. So it's our job as coaches at KOHR to do this. We want to close that gap. We want to bring that together. So when you come to the academy, we're doing our absolute best to recreate and simulate situations you're going to face on the golf course. So how do we do that? Well, we talked about a few things. We talked about spacing. So we talked about the time you take between each shot. On the range, 5 to 10 seconds for some of you. Whereas on the golf course, spacing can be 4 or 5 minutes. So what happens on the range is you get hold of a feeling of the good swing and you keep it. And we don't want that. We want you to actually lose the feeling of the good swing and learn to recall it, because that's what happens in tournament golf. So I'll say that again. The spacing effect is time between each shot. So for a lot of people on the range, the spacing effect is very small. There's very little time between each shot. There's very little time between each shot. And therefore you get hold of a feeling and you keep it. And the goal of golf practice should be to lose that feeling and learn to recall it, because that's what's going to happen in golf tournaments, because there's 4, 5, 6 minutes between each shot. So this year at KOHR, we talked about having no baskets. You go to the barrow of balls, you get 5 balls, you hit your balls, and then you have to go and get 5 more, because that creates space between each shot. And a lot of you in class said if you only had 5 balls, you would take more time, more care, and more attention to hit those. And again, this is a scientific principle. This isn't myself or Coach Luke or Coach Chris just wanting to be mean to you. It isn't Andrew and Brandon joining the coaching team and saying, hey, let's make the kids' lives a misery. This is to help you guys. This is scientifically underpinned. If you have more space between each shot, you're more likely to get those swing changes you want to stick. Okay? We talked about variability. So variability is the changing in task. So you hit 5 balls on the range, you go to the barrow, you get 5 more balls. If your first 5 balls were working on alignment, your next 5 balls change the task. So you might do the stop and go drill, you might do the glove under the armpit drill, you might do the centerness of strike or the sandwich drill. One of those drills 5 times. Then you walk, get your balls, come back, and you'll do 5 balls alignment. And by changing tasks, constantly changing task, the mind has to work harder. It has to stay engaged. 5 balls of task A, okay, completed that. 5 balls of task B, okay, completed that. Now back to 5 balls of task A. The brain has to think, has to use its memory, has to work hard to recall what you did 5 minutes ago. And that's what learning is. Learning is hard. Learning is stressful. Learning is not getting hold of a feeling and keeping it. Okay, so we talked about having more variability on the range. And finally, challenge. The more space you have between each shot, the more variability you have in your practice, the more challenging it is. So for the older, more experienced players, some of the boys that are going to play in AJGAs, some of the boys that are going to play in the Mass Junior, a couple of the girls that represent KOHR in local events and that have won trophies. For you guys, spacing and variability should be high. Now, for the younger people coming into the academy, if you're 12, 13 years old and you're relatively new to golf, spacing and variability should be lower because you're at a different point in your journey. So for some of the best players in the academy, lots of spacing and lots of variability. And for some of you new, younger players, you will be allowed to hit balls a little faster. You won't change task as much because that's what's right for you. So we talked about how we can use this to make practice the right kind of challenge for every individual at KOHR. So someone who's quite new might get 10 balls. It's one of your first sessions at KOHR. You've played golf. Your lowest score might be 95. You're inexperienced. You do 10 balls of drill 1, go to the bucket, 10 balls of drill 2, go back to the bucket, 10 balls of drill 1. Now, for someone who's more experienced, older players, AJGA players, players that are going to college, players that have already committed to college, practice might look a little bit more like this. 2 drills, 2 balls working on the sandwich drill. Go, and you have to get up and down before you're allowed 2 balls, shoes off, eyes closed, working on your swing. Then you have to hit 2 pitch shots inside PGA Tour average before you go and you get 5 balls speed variability. So a lot more spacing, variability, and challenge in this circuit than in this circuit. And I've studied this for a long time. I'm very, very nerdy when it comes to this. It really excites me because this really works. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think you just hit golf balls and you get reps and you ingrain it and you get muscle memory. And that's completely wrong. And that's why I want your parents to also watch this, because I want parents to be able to support good practice habits. So it's not always as hard as you work. Hitting ball after ball after ball all day does not ingrain a swing. If you are a younger player, you should be changing task every 10 balls, taking a bit of time out as you walk to get your new balls, and then going again. And you just alternate between those 2 tasks. If you are an older, more experienced player, should be a lot more spacing, a lot more variability, and a lot more challenge in your practice. 2 balls, performance task. 2 balls, performance task, 5 balls. It would look something like that. Because the goal of golf practice, if you want to learn, as I've said already, it's not to get hold of a feeling and keep it. It's to lose the feeling and be able to recall it. And a very good sign if you do that, you should leave the range mentally tired, not physically tired. This kind of practice is also exceptional for preventing you guys from getting injured. Okay, so there's more than just effective learning here. There's injury prevention. And again, I would love this to be shared with your parents. I think it's very important that they understand this practice philosophy so they can praise you and encourage the right habits. We talked about games. We talked about myself and Brandon have created scorecards. I think it was Simon that suggested maybe we could print the scorecards out and put them at the ball shed. I think that's a fantastic idea. So all the games and challenges that we play at KOHR, we'll have scorecards for that are at the ball shed. You can go to the ball shed and whoever's working there, you just take the Junior Academy folder, you find the game that you want to play, and you take the scorecard. And we talked about how we can make games the right level of stress for your experience or your ability. So this is a very, very good college player. If he hits this shot and then he walks and hits this ball right here to there, if he hits those, just hits shot 1, walks around, goes to that next golf ball, hits shot 2. If he does that, he has readily available information for this shot that he's gathered from this shot that he will never have on the golf course. In class, we talked about if you could hit a shot, even if it wasn't from the same place that your ball lay, if you could hit a chip shot from the front right, even if your ball was middle left, would you do it? Would you take that practice shot in a tournament? And everyone said yes, because it makes this shot easier. So what we talked about doing at KOHR is when you play games for score, having at least 2 games. Hit game number 1, shot number 1. Game number 2, shot number 1. Game number 1, shot number 2. Game number 2, shot number 2. And we looked at this video of Eduardo, who like I've said, he's a good college player. There we go. Game number 1, shot 1. Now he's moved. Game number 2, shot 1. This is a different game. This is a shot shaping game. The first game was a landing zone challenge. And you'll see him leave here, and he actually goes to game number 3. He actually goes and he hits shot number 1, game number 3 next. And then after he's hit shot number 1 from game number 3, which you'll see him go and do, you've guessed it, he goes to game number 1 and he hits shot number 2. And he does that until he's completed all 3 games. And what we've done there, if this was done on the KOHR facility, we've taken the KOHR facility and we've made it replicate challenges that you'll face on the golf course more, just like we saw with the fighter pilots. This is closer to what golf is like. And if you want your skills to show up on the golf course, we have to try and recreate and simulate as much as we possibly can the situations that you're going to face in golf at KOHR. So there's Eduardo's last shot. He played the game. There was 9 shots in each game, 1 point for each. So a total of 27 points. And he had to score 17 to be allowed to go on the TrackMan. So that's a great example there of a game that we can play. And we call that interleaving games. Something we'll do a lot next year. This year, starting April. And then we looked at this. We called this serial practice. So we talked and we played these games a lot last year. Driver into a 45-yard wide fairway. 9-iron inside 10 feet of your target and hole a 3-foot putt. If you do all 3 of those in a row, you get to go to level 2. Now, we talked about some of the newer, younger, less experienced golfers playing this level and having 5 lives. So just like you would on a computer game, you get lives. So we might increase this distance for some of the younger, inexperienced golfers to 30 or 40 feet. And some of the more experienced golfers, golfers like Kylie, Simon, Zach, the students that are going to play in the AJGA, Olivia, Brady, those kind of students, instead of having 5 lives, they don't get any lives. And if they miss, they have to go and get up and down before they're allowed back in the game. And what this allows some of the best players in the academy, no lives, and they have to get up and down if they fail on the level to be allowed back in the game. This allows them to compete with a student who's less experienced, who has 5 lives to complete this grid and doesn't have to get up and down. So we can manipulate the games so that we have good players playing against the less experienced players, or we can totally change that. We can group people in ability groups and they can play same rules and they can compete just like they would in golf. But the beauty of understanding, if we change space, if we change variability, and if we change the rules, it allows you all to play against each other, have a lot of fun, and compete super hard at core, no matter who you're playing against. So we talked about that. And then we talked a bit about on-course training, the games that we play in on-course training. And we played this video and we talked a bit how this video can help you encourage good habits in your pre-shot routine. So the rules of this game are to help you think a little bit more about strategy. So I'll play this. On-course challenge, the eliminator. During this on-course task, a player will choose the side of the hole they want to eliminate for the tee shot. In this instance, the player has chosen to eliminate the left side. Any ball that lands to the left of the fairway will be given a 2-stroke penalty. The player will then play an approach shot, selecting which side of the flag they want to eliminate. In this instance, the player has chosen to eliminate the right side of the flag. Any ball that lands to the right side of the flag will be given a 2-stroke penalty. Once the approach shot has been hit, the player should continue to play as normal from around the green, attempting to shoot the lowest score that they can. And we talked about the benefits of being able to go to Sasamon and be able to use their golf course, play 9 holes, because those games are hard and intense and you're going to play a lot of tournaments, so we need to keep you fresh. But also we can look at your stats, we can look at how you're playing, and we can create games specific to the individual. So we'll build games based on whatever you guys need throughout the year. We don't all have to be playing the same game. And again, just like Simon suggested, putting games at the scorer's hut, at the ball shed, for students to get access to play games at core. We'll do the same with the on-course games. I mean, I'll be writing a lot of you practice plans that you can implement at your home course. So the goal of golf practice, not to hit rep after rep after rep, not to develop muscle memory that doesn't exist, not to ingrain something. The goal of golf practice is to lose the feeling and learn to recall it. So what we're trying to do as coaches, we're trying to create organized mess or systematic chaos. And we want you to get reps, but we want you to do it without too much repetition. So I know this is a lot of information. I know this is very hard to understand, but one of my goals is to empower you guys. One of CORE's key philosophies, one of the key cornerstones of the values of CORE is to empower you guys. We want you to become your own best coaches. We want you to be able to design your own practices. It's gonna take all of this terminology, gonna have to understand it all to be able to do it to the best of your ability. But I'm not asking you to understand it all now. I'm just trying to lay the groundwork. The coaches are, of course, going to do this for you. We meet 7:30 every Monday, and we design the practice sessions based on everything that we see and everything that we discuss. As time goes, and this did happen quite a lot last year, especially in the silver group and the blue group, you guys started to design your own games. And some of your games and challenges were so cool. And I just think it would be awesome if you would do that outside of core sessions as well, because ultimately that's going to help you become a better golfer, just like upgrades in practice and training help the Top Gun school become better pilots. So I'm going to stop that very quickly, because the last thing we did, we shared, if I can find it. Here we go. Shared this with everyone. Let me see if I'm sharing my screen again. So we talked a little bit about this. We're going to have this branded, and these are the scorecards. So if you come to core and you want to work on your golf swing, don't just hit balls. 5 balls of golf swing, and then do 1 round of this putting game. Then go back, 5 balls of golf swing, do round 2 of this putting game. Go back, 5 balls of golf swing, do round 3 of this putting game. If you are going to work on maybe driver, maybe you're working on driver distance, don't smash 100 drivers in a row. Do 5 drivers, and then, okay, I have to complete level 1 of 2-2 putting. Go to the ball shed, get the card, hand the card in after, and Brandon will record your results. And any game, all of these games are going to be printed, and you'll have scorecards. You'll be able, these are all the ones for the golf course, and myself and the coaches, we're going to put videos together. So we're really going to level up practice this year. And again, I don't want you to think we're just being mean. They never let us hit any balls. I don't want you to think that volume and smashing ball after ball is the key. I want you to truly understand what good practice is. And I want us to have an amazing year and lots of fun helping you practice so that the swing changes stick, and so that your best ball striking transfers to the golf course. So when you come to core, don't come looking to be comfortable and looking to develop confidence in your ball striking. Come to core looking to be uncomfortable and looking to develop resilience and be able to deal with adversity, because they're the things you're going to need on the golf course. So that's the things that we're going to train you in. And that's what this training takes. Be prepared to be frustrated and stressed out in practice, so that when you turn up to play in tournaments and competitive golf, or you go out on the golf course, you can breathe a sigh of relief, because golf seems easier. You can follow your process, you can relax, and you can have fun. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the replay video. I will send this out hopefully this evening, maybe tomorrow, to everyone. Again, love you to share this with your parents, and I'll field any questions on this. This is my passion. I really enjoy designing effective practice programs for golfers. And on Sunday, we're almost coming to the end of winter training. So on Sunday, Coach Brandon is going to take you through your own personal portal, where we will be uploading your scorecards, tests, how you're practicing, reports for your parents. And it's the same place that you guys will be able to write about tournaments, practice, gym sessions, where you'll be able to reflect and post all your round reviews, etc. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great evening. Speak to you soon.